The Philippines is accusing China's coastguard of firing a water cannon at one of its supply boats. The vessel was on a routine troop rotation mission in the South China Sea. The Philippine Navy says it happened near a submerged reef. A handful of its troops lived there on a rusty World War II-era U.S. ship. Well, the latest encounter took place near the Second Thomas Shoal. It's a submerged reef that China says it has indisputable sovereignty over. The so-called 9-dash line marks Beijing's claim over nearly the entire South China Sea, but that's disputed by other countries in the region. A 2016 UN tribunal ruling said Beijing's claims were groundless. Colonel Ray Powell is the Sea Light Director at the Gordian Knot Center for National Security Innovation at Stanford University. He's joining us live from Davao City in the Philippines. So thank you very much indeed for being with us on Al Jazeera. What is China trying to achieve with these provocations? They don't seem to be forcing foreign governments to change their strategy in a broad sense.
No, Rob, and thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you. It really has not seemed to work in terms of trying to bring Manila in line. Since the beginning of the year, the Philippines has been pushing back more strongly against China's blockade of Second Thomas Shoal and been publicizing China's gray zone activities in what they call the West Philippine Sea. And China has continued to escalate, and the Philippines has not backed down, frankly.
Now, I mentioned that you were the Sea Light Director at the Gordian Knot Center. We should explain that that is a system, if I understand it correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is a system essentially for monitoring movements within a particular area of sea that don't necessarily get tracked on more sort of public sites, shall we say. Would that be correct? Have I got that right? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to briefly say, we report on these incidents when they happen, and obviously they become big news around the world. But how often do incidents like this happen?
Well, I'd say there's been an incident every rotation, really, since the beginning of the year. Beginning with, in February, there was a laser pointing incident, what we call a dazzler, at the Philippine resupply Coast Guard vessel. There have been a couple of blockades where the Philippine vessel has been physically blocked. And this is the first of the water cannon events this year. So it's been pretty routine on these resupply missions that happen about every 45 days.
What would be a tipping point, do you think, at which sporadic provocations like these would become a serious threat and things could escalate? Well,
aside from just a collision of some sort, I would say probably the most serious threat is that something happens to make the derelict ship you referred to, that is the Philippines outpost, the Second Thomas Shoal, uninhabitable. Perhaps the ship begins to break up and slide into the sea. This really is China's strategy, which is to blockade the Philippines away from the ship until it becomes uninhabitable. And this would truly provoke a crisis, because at that point, if the Philippines abandons the ship, China wins the shoal, and that would certainly bring us into quite a new space.
It's really interesting to get your thoughts on this, Colonel Powell. Thank you very much indeed for being with us on Al Jazeera, sir.
Thank you.